let's talk about then what sets your vehicles apart from the competitors out there. And frankly, there aren't that many competitors in this particular slot. I think there's a company in Illinois that is doing some F-150s. But pretty much there's, I think at this point at least, seem to have the field pretty much to yourself. So what kind of reception are you getting?
Well, we have a list of customers today, some that we've announced and some that we'll be announcing when we deliver their first vehicles. And we have a much longer list of prospects in our pipeline of interested organizations, from the Canadian and U.S. military to many municipal and utility fleet companies, provincial and state level organizations of fleets. And every single one of them has come to us. We actually have a team of 1.5 salespeople, and I make up that half. So there's back here, and I lean too heavily on the batteries because they actually do so well. They last quite a long time in these new computers. Yeah. But so yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of interest from the fleet market, and we make cold calls, but we haven't had to make a single one to get a customer or prospect of a notable type of organization, construction companies, utility companies, and so on. Right. And the technology, everybody's interested in two things from us, and so we're really being validated by what we're doing uniquely. First of all, they want a pure electric vehicle, and there's a tremendous amount of political pressure, whether inside their organization or with the local government around them. And to the point that I think on the other end of the phone, when we're talking to these groups, they experience it as anxiety. There's an amount of anxiety to somehow get to the point of electrifying their fleet and getting on with a roadmap that they have to buying more sustainable vehicles and being able to find little to nothing that's going to meet their needs. Yeah. The reality is a Chevy Volt will not do the job of an F-150. Right. And so as much as they are going to be tremendous vehicles, the pent-up demand that exists today is with the fleets. So the other thing that we hear about is that these guys, they have these $30,000 F-150s, and they're towing $40,000 diesel generators with which to power job site equipment, cutting tools on a construction site, street side, overhead lights on large construction sites, things like that. And so they have off-board power needs wherever they're driving their fleet vehicles to. And in municipalities, it gets a little more interesting, where they have emergency operations centers, they have municipal pump stations, and of course everybody needs an uninterruptible power supply for city hall and other types of buildings that you consume a lot of power, whether it's an assembly plant or a building with a whole bunch of servers like a critical IT department. And so there's a need for power reliability. And when electric vehicles are carrying 40 to 50 kilowatt hours on board, at least our fleet vehicles are, and if they could offboard this power to the voltage and frequency necessary for all these other types of uses, we add so much value beyond just a regular electric vehicle, especially for the fact that it's on wheels, which means it's portable. Right. So,
I should clarify that, because I think up to this point we haven't really stated the fact that what is really unique about what you're doing is the fact that not only can you charge the vehicle, but the vehicle can actually send electricity from the battery back into the grid. And I think that's probably what is really exciting to municipalities and police forces and and emergency
Absolutely.
people, is that ability to be able not just to have a car that runs around with electric power from the grid, but also can, when necessary, put that power back in. So let's talk about what are some of the engineering issues. Obviously, there are issues building a vehicle that can run on electric power, but what are the issues of putting that power then back out of the vehicle, back into the grid?
Yeah, well, I got to say, first of all, that I'm really thankful for the fact that I'm just a snowboarder, and I came into this with an incredible amount of naivety, because had I known how incredibly complicated this is, I probably wouldn't have started. Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't come into this being an engineer. So it was complicated enough to build a proprietary powertrain system with state-of-the-art energy storage and deal with all the issues that everyone's dealing with, from how is this vehicle going to perform in minus 30 Celsius in downtown Calgary in the middle of November, to how we're going to optimize energy consumption and range and weight and balancing and crash safety. And now we've layered on the complexity of making the power very accessible to 120 volt, 240 volt, direct to DC-DC, 480 volt capacities for vehicle to equipment or vehicle to job site or vehicle to microgrids and grids. And it wasn't a simple matter that we thought it would be of putting on an inverter or something like that, because weight and cost become such a major issue, and you just don't find off-the-shelf inverters that can invert 20 kilowatts of power at once to make it highly useful power accessibility. So it was actually from the battery management system and the way we arrange the modules in the battery packs and the way we thermally manage those modules right through to the vehicle's ECU, to the way we create different modes of operation and how we vary the regenerative braking capability, all the way up to a server-based network that we're patenting that allows a utility or a fleet operator to handle hundreds of vehicles and their power in aggregate all at once. So to make it really useful, involved everything from remote control, wireless, secure networks to comprehensive thermal management systems. So if you have a fleet guy and he wants to power job site tools in downtown Toronto in the middle of the winter, it doesn't matter how cold it is out there, that vehicle both has to power his tools and get him home in a way that he can control the range of the vehicle and the consumption when he's not driving it.
So let's talk about then what are the capabilities here? What can this vehicle do in terms of its operation? Getting him from the job site back home, and how much energy is available to work on the job site too.
Well, it certainly differs depending on usage, but it stemmed from learning that statistically, North American consumer vehicles are driven only 1 hour a day. So you've got 23 hours a day that a gas vehicle is just a depreciating asset, sitting there full of gasoline energy and rotting. And an electric vehicle, on the other hand, you've got these 23 hours of electric accessibility if you've built in that technology. And we found that with fleets, it's a little bit different. Fleet vehicles are used about 3 fleet yard to a job site. They typically go to 1 or 2 job sites in a day, and statistically, these operators are driving vehicles for really 1/3 to 1/4 of the driving range of the vehicle. So we build the vehicles with a modular pack strategy, so we can offer 75-mile, 100-mile, and 120-mile range options. And we find the vast majority of them really don't need more than the 75, 80-mile range. And so you've got, maybe they're going to drive 1/3 of that, leaving 2/3 of that battery, which is 30 kilowatt hours, 25, 30 kilowatt hours, for anything else they need on a job site. Now that's actually a tremendous amount of power. 25 kilowatt hours will run most North American homes for 4, 5, 6 days. Job site tools, the vast majority of job site tools are running at 120 volts, and that's just, we're talking watts here. And then job site tools, vast majority of needs of power are not energy applications. They're power applications where they're turning on the tool for brief moments. So when you're drilling something, it's only on for 10 seconds and off for 5 minutes.
Right.
And even construction site cranes, when you have these massive construction site cranes moving, they'll move from right to left for 30 seconds, and then they'll sit idle for 10 or 15 minutes and then move again. So an electric vehicle's battery is perfect for a high rate of discharge over short periods of time. So minutes or tens of minutes at a time. So we use proprietary server-based algorithms that talk to the vehicle's ECU, that optimize energy consumption relative to what's being plugged into the vehicle. So you can, on a little touchscreen in the vehicle, you can configure, do I want 120 volt power, do I want 240 volt power, or am I going to plug in directly to the battery and run a construction site crane at 480 volts DC off the vehicle? And as soon as you configure with that little button, you're configuring the mode of operation of the vehicle, and it optimizes the frequency of the electricity as it leaves the battery to work for whatever you need. And so it's tremendously easy to use despite the complexity of the need.
So the guy's working on the job site, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. How does he check how much energy he has available to him? I mean, is there a little Apple iPhone app or something?
There is, actually. Because we all have Apples around here, but it'll be for Blackberries and Android phones and everything else. I'm just loading it up right now to see. There you go. I might be able to see the...
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
So you'll be able to see state of charge, which direction the energy is flowing, how many kilowatts in what direction. You'll be able to see whether you're using 120 or 240 or 480 volts, how many kilowatts per second per minute. You can look at your statistical averages. You can turn on the heater remotely. You can unlock doors, using this as a key fob. Once the vehicle is 100% electric and you build in modular modes of operation, which we've done, you really have an incredible amount of flexibility with what we can do.
Okay.
And that's the part I think is very exciting for our market.
So let's talk about some of your partners here. Who do you have partnered with you on this these project then?
Oh, quite a few. Not able to talk about a lot of them at this time, but
Okay.
probably one of the most important ones is GridPoint.
Okay.
Everyone in our industry certainly knows GridPoint. I would say they're one of the leaders in demand response utility management software. So we are not trying to reinvent the wheel here, and I think that's something very important for people to understand. What we're doing is we're adding value at the electric vehicle side, and we're aggregating the information of thousands of electric vehicles with our unique capability and putting that information onto a server that can talk to GridPoint or talk to Trilliant or other demand response networks. So the utility is a very, very complex beast. The way they operate grids and the way they manage power trading and demand response with energy sources like stationary or electric vehicle batteries gets really complex. So we interface with them. And that gives everybody from the average fleet driver to a fleet manager who's managing 100 vehicles, right up to a utility that's worried about thousands of vehicles in a region, visibility into the energy storage and even the location of the vehicles in real time. And so that's what we provide on our end.